Now, if you're learning how to shoot, this is what I would suggest. Start here, because you want to get the feeling of, so it feels good coming off your hand, then back up. You want to know what that feeling is like to follow through. Because if you start out here, which little kids, younger kids will be here, and they're hoisting shots up. And then you could end up with a shot like Lonzo Ball. If I was his dad, I could have helped him with his shot years ago. But you just want to get there so you get that follow through. And then you get right to the foul line. So you establish sort of that feeling of what that's like. And then you're able to get that rhythm. So I got form. You want form, you don't want distance. Okay? Leave the three-pointers to the professionals. Come in here, start with just the feel. Make 10 in a row, 10 in a row, 10 in a row, 10 in a row. And then do it again. You'll end up with a great looking shot. And hold your form. Watch Jordan when he would shoot, he would keep this up there like that. The great shooters follow through. Klay Thompson, maybe the best shot in the NBA. But when you see it, follow through. NBA pushed back its date to reopen practice facilities yesterday. They were looking for May 1st. Now they're going to look for May 8th here. This is what I don't want to hear and don't want to see. The commissioner, Adam Silver, said this a couple of weeks ago. I'm not going to set arbitrary dates for us to return. Because what it does is it provides false hope. Also, as a citizen, you think, wow, the NBA's coming back. Maybe we've gotten through the worst of this pandemic. I think it gives us false hope there. We all want the NBA to come back. I just get nervous when we say, you know what, we're going to start college football on time. We don't know that. We're going to have the Olympics next July. We don't know that. It's nice to dream about it, but these people who are in these positions, we tend to think they have more information than us. And then you start to realize maybe they don't. So May 8th right now. And it's a lot for the league to figure out. And you got states who have different rules. Competitive balance is an issue. If one state says, hey, you can come back, and another state says, no, you can't. Like the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks, they would be at a decided disadvantage here. You're going to limit 4 players in the facility at once. Players have to be 12 feet apart while on the court. That sounds like me when I was playing defense in high school. The NBA's not alone. Other leagues are going to face the same issues as they try to get back to business. And for better or for worse, sports will be a viable barometer of really how we're doing as a country. We keep saying we need sports to kickstart the economy. To kickstart the economy with sports, you have fans going to sporting events. We're not kickstarting an economy here. And I hope that we're not hinging all of our bets, the future, on sports coming back that will kickstart our economy. It's not easy. It's a chance for the leagues to shine by making smart and safe decisions here. Golf will come back. Golf's going to be the first sport to come back. And I understand that you can do that. You can have robotic cameras. You have, social distancing already. You're going to walk separately. Is there a way that you don't have to touch the pin when the ball goes in the hole? Like, there's things that they still have to figure out here. But golf could still come back. And I think you can have events. You just won't have a gallery there. You're going to come back for football. You're not going to come back for football and have fans come back. Students won't be back, but we're going to expect football players to come back. As far as the NFL goes, there are already contingency plans of what they plan on doing. Are you going to move back the Super Bowl? Probably a couple of weeks. And you're going to probably start the season a little bit later. Like, these are just thoughts. These are things being discussed right now. And I take you back to whatever it was a month ago when I said that they're looking at a 12-game schedule in the NFL. Like, that might be best case scenario. You might look at it as worst case scenario, but that might be best case scenario where you have a 12-game schedule. The Sports Business Journal had a report that detailed contingency plans, possibly starting the NFL in October, pushing the Super Bowl back to late February. I was told that they wanted to do the Super Bowl on President's Day weekend because then that gave you that Monday off, so you actually had a holiday for people with the Super Bowl So that might not be a crazy thing. You might eliminate the bye weeks here. There would be no Pro Bowl, but nobody would notice. But the NFL is a big story. And if they get to that point where they start making their contingency plans, the other leagues will follow. You say, and you're quoted, there will be baseball in 2020.
Yes.
And
I do believe that. And I believe that because I think all of the parties involved are extremely motivated to have baseball in some form or fashion. I also think that because maybe I'm trying to be optimistic in this time where optimism is in short supply, but I'm not allowing that optimism to guide me to this place where baseball coming back is not realistic. I see the country reopening, and I know that we're going to have stumbles along the way, and I understand that that's part of it, but I also think there's a recognition that getting back to life like some form of what we had before coronavirus is an imperative, and that baseball is going to be a part of that. It's not going to be a part of that with fans in all likelihood, but I think there's a very reasonable way that games can be played under a variety of circumstances, and it's just a matter of baseball figuring out which one suits all of the parties involved best.
I'm also wondering, though, how many games that, like, is there if we can't get this many games in, then we can't have a season? Is there an amount that they're looking at?
If you had asked me that question 2 or 3 weeks ago, I would have said yes. I think there's a sort of a point at which the season is not tenable. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think MLB right now and the players are considering every possibility. And there was one in the column that I wrote yesterday that I just sort of, like, honestly, when I was just sitting there, I dreamt up a tournament. And it was based on the fact that an official said, if something to the effect of, give us 60 days, we could put on a hell of a tournament. And I think that that's true. Is it, would it be like a championship season? No. But would it be something that could be different and compelling and still baseball? Like that right there, Dan, I think is what people in the sport are banking on at this point, that some baseball is better than no baseball, and in whatever format it takes, we're just going to embrace it. By the way, I'm curious to hear your take on this. Do you think the optimism is unwarranted? And do you think there's going to be baseball this year?
I don't know, Jeff. And I just spent 15 minutes starting the show where I don't like where we have these arbitrary dates where we go, hey, NBA facilities opening up May 1st. And then they come back and say, now it's May 8th. I think it's dangerous when we do this with our sports leagues because it trickles out to what we do every day. I think it gives us this false sense of, hey, things are getting better here. I don't know that. And I think when we want sports to come back, it doesn't happen magically just because we stomp our foot and say, I want my sports back. It doesn't work that way. And I thought the commissioner, Adam Silver, did the right thing a month ago when he said, I'm not going to put out any dates there. And then he comes out and puts out a date of May 1st. Now it's May 8th. I don't know if the NBA comes back. I've thought all along that it wouldn't. Baseball, I could think maybe you get now a truncated 60-game season. Yeah. College football, I think, is going to be pushed back. I think the NFL is going to be pushed back a little bit. I want to be optimistic, but I also have to be realistic, and that's really what it comes down to.
If we still have a second before break, let me come in here and tell you why I think the date thing actually has been good. Okay. I think it has shown that these leagues can be judicious. If leagues were trying to get back at all costs, they would be setting extraordinarily aggressive dates and trying to push for them. They would be bypassing public health protocols and standards. They wouldn't have a meeting today with the White House and their public health experts that they have hired. The worst thing that could possibly happen to any league is for it to come back and have it fail. And I think we have to understand that is the great emergency break here. that is going to prevent them from coming back before it's time? Can they push? Can they talk about it? Can they give us hope? Can they give us optimism? Is it false? Yeah, all of those things are true. But I think when it's all said and done, the most important thing here is that the decisions are made in concert with health experts and not for poor reasons like profit. Like, if we can get to that point, that's where I, as a sports consumer and as a human being, feel good about the way that this has been handled.
I just don't like when we talk about jump-starting the economy and we use sports, because fans aren't going to be going to the games. That's how you jump-start the economy in the world of sports. If we're going to bring back sports, then bring it back. Don't bring it back while we're pushing the envelope saying, we got to jump-start the economy here. That's dangerous. That's careless. That's reckless, in my opinion.
I think that sports can be part of it. And I think we have to, I think one thing we have to understand now, man, is just how different the new normal is going to be and how we have to adjust to these very weird states of affairs where people look at sports as something that can jumpstart the economy. I don't even know if it's jumpstart the economy so much as it is bring some semblance of normalcy back to life. And it is a hard thing for anyone to do, but sports has always been that very unifying figure in this country. And I think that's why people want to look at it, because in a time of discomfort, what is sports if not comfort?
Who got up there and killed where you go, I can't do this. This is out of my league.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, no one now.
Of course.
Well, we all know how to kill. At a certain point, we can all set it on stun. I've been doing it 43 years. So during that time, I bombed, off and on for a decade. And you have to do that to get good, pretty much. But the person I was most impressed with was Eddie Murphy. He was working out Raw, and I brought him on stage one week. And unbelievable standing ovation at the top. The walls are shaking, and then he did great. And then at the end, I hate all the euphemisms that they give you. He killed, he crushed, he smashed, he wrecked it. I crushed that. You don't want to hear that when it comes to another person of the opposite sex or the same sex, or just some unsuspecting, traffic officer.
Back to Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, thank you. God bless you. So he came in one week, did the set. He was in a blue leather suit. It was on a Friday night, did about 50 minutes. And then one Friday later, this is right before he was shooting Raw, like 2 weeks before he shot Raw, he was wearing an all red leather suit, came in, the room rumbled, the walls are shaking. And then at the set just built. He literally was so good that, and I understood what he was doing, he fixed everything that he was doing. He fixed it. He understood it more. He told it. He elongated it because he told it more as a person would tell it. Like Richard, that's kind of the role model for how you tell the story. You embellish it, and he wasn't working on it at that point. He was refining it, and literally, it was the biggest reaction I'd ever seen to anyone, except for one set I had in Central Florida. But it was amazing. I mean, literally the walls shook, and it was the main room, which is like a 400-seat room, which used to be Ciro's. So it was astonishing.
What do you have from Richard Pryor?
I've got a bunch of stuff. A picture of Richard signed for me, and I was in a movie with him called Critical Condition. So Richard and I had a closeness. It was I loved him a lot.
How intimidating was Pryor back then?
Well, I was at the Comedy Store for like 8 years, so I was just there as an MC trying to get a job. I would do little gigs here and there, and so I would be on stage, and I'd bring Robin Williams up, and then rest his soul, whatever the hell you say, because he shouldn't be dead, and then I'd bring Richard up. And then Sam Kennison would go on. It was insane. It was. It's popular again. Well, it's not popular now. You can't go anywhere. But Richard was pretty astonishing.
Oh, it's Sophie in California set to join us. Hey, Soph, how are you this morning?
Dan, it's been a long time. I'm very well. How about you? How are my favorite geezers doing? Sounds like you guys are surviving.
Everything is great. We're surviving-ish here. Yeah, Paulie.
Sophie,
Yeah.
I got to tell you, Sophie, as a Liverpool fan, we found a way not to get the Premier League title.
So, Paulie, I've been thinking about you a lot, and it's been brewing because, as you've seen, the Dutch League, the Belgian League, and today the French League have all been cancelled. And the pressure is now growing on the Premier League in terms of what are they going to do. They have until May 25th to decide on their next move. We've seen West Ham, we've seen Arsenal and Tottenham go back to training, but players moving in groups at different times, training on individual pitches. I think the thing with the Premier League and the biggest thing at stake here is the TV deal. It's worth $2 billion. And as we know, the sponsorship money and that part of it is really what is navigating how they're going to move next. But as the country is still trying to find its feet and Boris Johnson is trying to figure out the next moves, there are a lot of fans who think that the Premier League should follow suit with the other European leagues. So it's a huge dilemma right now from a moral point of view, in terms of humanity, but also a moral point of view, Dan and Paulie, in terms of how does this play out? Liverpool still have 6 points they need to win the title. So if you void the season and hand it to them, there's going to be that MLB type of asterisk next to it.
I was watching the Sunderland Till I Die documentary. That was really well done.
So good.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that, but it was, just the fact that they were once a powerhouse in the Premier League, and then they get relegated, and then they get relegated again. And you're just watching how, these relationships and the pressure, and it was fascinating. I really enjoyed it.
Dan, Sunderland is still a big club, even though they've dropped a couple of leagues. If there's an American sports owner out there that wants to buy a club, Sunderland is as big as Newcastle. And Newcastle right now is looking at a takeover, which is also very controversial because the takeover is rumored to be the Saudi prince. But Sunderland have suffered. They've invested millions and millions of dollars in this club, but they still have that fan base. And I would say, arguably, Sunderland and Newcastle, and some fans may not understand this, but in terms of fan base, they're bigger than Manchester City. Manchester City have had a lot of glory because of the investment that has been made in them, but as a club, they have a smaller supporter group. Sunderland Till I Die is one of those perfect examples of you don't need it to be a Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea or Arsenal story for it to be engaging. It's probably one of the most successful sports football documentaries that we've seen, and it has a great story. So
yeah, it was very enjoyable.
Really interesting, Dan. And the last dance as well is evoking a lot of soccer fans craving for that 80s and 90s competitiveness. That hatred. That a lot of people don't like that word, but that pure kind of rivalry, you just can't beat it. Arsenal and Man United had it in the 90s when the Premier League was set off. Liverpool had it in the 80s when everyone hated them and wanted to beat them. And so it's actually evoked a lot of emotions in soccer fans as well, and I just wanted to share that with you too.
Great to hear from you, Sophie. Hope you're well, and thank you again.
Take care, mate. Take care,
All
everyone.
Right. That's Sophie, who usually gives us a soccer update. Did you see the hat I had over here, Paulie?
Yeah, you're pretty cool. Where'd you get that?
What? You're not the only one who follows Liverpool.
When did you become a Liverpool fan? This week? Last week?
It was.
Seton, help me out.
I think it was.
They've had tough times my entire.
I know that, and I've struggled through those times with you. But I got LFC.
I got. They'll never walk alone, right?
Have her. I've had this for God, I don't know how many days.
I know it's tough to choose because you love them all, but who's your favorite player of all time in Liverpool? Or do you just love them all?
I love them all.
Yeah, you love them all equally.
Oh, I love them. Because I used to be a Leeds fan. You remember that?
Sure, I remember that week.
Yeah, Leeds, I was big on that.
Leicester City?
Oh, yeah, when I pronounced it Leicester City.
Yeah.
Oh, but I did have one of the greatest upsets of all time. I just didn't have the name correct.
You told Rebecca Lowe to start the Premier League season where Leicester City won the title. I think I'm going to jump on a Leicester City bandwagon just because you thought the name was fun.
And I said, that's the team I'm following this year is Leicester City. And she goes, Dan, it's Leicester City.
It still bothers her, though, that you called it.
I know.
Accidentally.
All right. Yeah. Is there anybody like Dennis Rodman in the league now?
No, I don't think so. With the mentality, the ability to go get 30 rebounds, I mean, he's the only selfless guy I know right now that would go play a whole game and not care if they ran a play for him. I think Draymond's another guy who wouldn't care if they ran a play for him. But there aren't a lot of guys out there that would be selfless, would rebound, guard 1 through 5, and make the headlines that night, for having orange or pink hair, being in the club with Carmen Electra or someone.
Or Madonna.
Yeah, he's the only guy that I know that would have the guts to ask for a vacation in the middle of the season and be granted one.
But having been there during those championship runs, and you'd see Rodman come down the hall and he might have makeup on, he might have a dress on, and you got to the point where you just said, "Oh, Dennis is here." It would become so normal to see Dennis, but he was so abnormal when you consider the way the league was, and he didn't care what you thought of him because he was going to go out and get you whatever you wanted, and he was going to play defense. He'd get to the free throw line, CJ, and he didn't even want to be at the free throw line. He didn't care if he made his free throws. He wanted nothing to do with scoring, it's amazing. You're right. There's nobody like that.
Yeah, it's amazing the impact he was able to have on the game. Like you said before, coming in dresses, the makeup. He was an iconic figure. I remember the wedding he did in New York where he wore the dress.
Yeah.
He had essentially a parade. He's unlike anything we've ever seen, unlike anything we will ever see. And I think that just kind of shows you the impact he had. For the Bulls to take a chance on a guy like Dennis Rodman after he was basically, thrown out in the trash, to take that chance and to win 3 championships, Phil Jackson, the Bulls, they deserve a lot of credit because not a lot of teams and coaches would have been willing to take on a player like Dennis at that point.
How much hooping are you doing?
I haven't shot a basketball in over a month. So
What?
I'm not doing any hooping. I don't have a court. I got a nice home here, beautiful landscaping, and I'm in distance to drive to the practice facility. And I felt like my 24-hour access would always be available. Now it's been taken away, and I've been forced to do home workouts without a basketball.
Wait, I'm shooting more hoops than you are right now?
Absolutely. If you've shot in the last month, you definitely probably have a better jump shot than me right now.
I shot 30 minutes ago, CJ. I'm pumping out jumpers. I mean, I can send you a video just so you can see what the form looks like. They call me, the older Klay Thompson.
I'd love to see the form. I'm sure you probably have a beautiful set shot.
A set shot? Wow. Do you have a neighbor close by who has a basketball hoop?
There's a few basketball courts around me, but I just don't feel right, to do on a neighbor's court, especially since we're practicing social distancing.
I think you just let the neighbors know, I'm going to come over and I'm going to work out for an hour. If everybody could stay in the house, then that way you practice safe distancing there.
I actually just got the garage coach to one of my teammates that used to live out here. So I'm going to start going to work out at his house since he's in Miami.
Can you compare LeBron to Michael Jordan?
You can, but you can't because their approaches are different. There's obviously, one 6'8", 250, 260. The errors are different. Jordan is more, I guess it's funny people say it all the time. Jordan's mentality was more like Kobe. LeBron's mentality was more like Magic, point forward, flashy, makes the game more fun for everybody. Kobe and Jordan were more assassins in terms of scoring in that approach. But you can compare their greatness. I think that's something you can compare the impact they've had on the game, how they're both global figures. And one thing's for certain, we've all kind of patterned our games after Jordan, especially early on with the wristband, the tongue out, the fadeaways. I think they're both elite in their own right, and both will be considered, on many people's Mount Rushmores.
How about we pick teams and you get the first pick? You can have Jordan or you can have LeBron. Who do you want as your teammate?
What year are we in? Is this 91? Is this prime? Is this 28 to 32-year-old Jordan? Like, what are we doing here?
Both players are 30.
Both players are 30?
Yeah.
I mean, I think I would flip a coin, and hopefully the coin lands on heads and heads is Mike.
So you're taking Mike. Okay. I mean, Mike's
I'm
probably.
taking Mike right now because LeBron's still not finished. LeBron's still got a lot of left in the tank. He can still get more championships, more MVPs. He can solidify his legacy as the all-time leading scorer and all-time leading assist, or second to Stockton, about the second to Stockton in assists.
Cookie? Do you want the cookie? Oh, you do? Well, come here then. Okay, I didn't know you liked cookies. Well, come on out here. There she is. Sit. Wait. Come here. Good girl. Good girl.
She's afraid of Rob behind you.
Okay, come here. Come here, girl. Oh, I don't want you scared. Because Rob's a jerk right there. He ruined our fun. Can't we just eat cookies together? Good girl.
Her little nose.
Yeah. Good girl.